Hey guys, what's up? Darcy here at 6 Strings 9 Lives, back for another ranking video. Today I'm going to take a look at all 9 studio albums from Mötley Crüe. Definitely a band from my past. First discovered these guys in 1983. Don't listen to them as much as these days as I did back then, that's for sure. But definitely a big part of, kind of my metal journey. I know they're whatever you consider them, glam, but it's all metal to me. A few stories as we go. There's only 9 albums to rank, so we're going to throw in a couple little stories as we go. I did get to, very lucky to see these guys in their heyday 2 times, and then 2 other times in the past 20 years. And today we're going to go a little bit old school. This is something I haven't even shown in a video. Got it for a decent price because there was some issues with this, and I'll talk about that as I go. But I picked up from Record Store Day this past year here, or this year, the 40th anniversary cassette box set, which contains their first 5 albums. So right there. And the issue with this was they used a magnet to close this door, which they honestly should have used Velcro, because magnets and cassettes do not get along very well, and it can really kind of screw up the recording. So I don't personally know how mine are, or if they were affected whatsoever. I don't have a proper cassette deck yet. It's on my Christmas list, so we'll check those out. But for the price I got it for, I'm happy to keep this just as a souvenir. It also came with this little, almost like a deck of card size, kind of a stuffer to keep things stable in there, showing the first 5 albums and the rest of the catalog on the back. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, we're going to use some cassettes to hold up with this ranking. So let's get started. Coming in at number 9 is their 7th overall studio album from 1997. Is my least favorite. Kind of always has been, to be honest with you. This is Generation Swine, return of Vince Neil on vocals. Just not a memorable album. There's the back cover. I would say Afraid might be my favorite song on here. Let Us Pray, decent song. And there is a remake of Shout at the Devil 1997 on here. But there you go. Different logo on every album, these guys. But yeah, coming in at number 9, Generation Swine. Coming in at number 8, I just picked this up a few months back on CD. Never had it on CD. I know the album, and it's just not something I go back to often. But coming in at number 8 is their 8th overall studio album from 2000 called New Tattoo. And this one actually does not feature, Tommy Lee is not on this album. Randy Castillo did the drumming on this. Rest in peace, Randy. And the touring drummer was, I think her name was Samantha Mahoney. I'm not sure what band she's from or whatever, but she filled in live. But yeah, I think I should even mention a track. My favorite track on here that is the only track that I really, really love. I can say that. Hell on High Heels is more reminiscent of the 80s Mötley Crüe that we, all know and love. But yeah, there's a cover on here, White Punks on Dope. One other track, Drag Strip Superstar. Not bad, but yeah, overall, just not an album that I would spin much or at all. So I'd mentioned earlier in the video that I've got to see Mötley Crüe a few times. Got to see them, this is pertaining to this album. So coming in at number 7, their 9th overall studio album is Saints of Los Angeles. So I got to see them on what was called Crüe Fest. They came with 4 other bands. The opener was a band called Trapped. Who else was on the bill? Pop Evil, Buck Cherry, and 6 a.m. And then Mötley Crüe was the headliner. So yeah, Nikki Sixx pulled double duty on that evening. I was just there to see Mötley Crüe. But it, like, the whole... no discredit to some of those bands, but they're just mostly for me, not my thing. But the whole atmosphere, it was a great, party atmosphere, a lot of fun, and a very, very awesome show overall. And but this album, it's okay. It's not probably the album they'd want to end their career on, but they did. And for the most part, This album does not have a lot of input as a band, as actually Mötley Crüe. This is more of a, maybe you could, for all intents and purposes, you could say this was, a 6 a.m. album, written for Mötley Crüe, basically is what it is. But decent tracks. I do love the opening, or the title track, Saints of Los Angeles, Motherfucker of the Year, White Trash Circus. There's some good tracks on here. It's a solid album, but just not the greatest, let's say. So that one was coming in at number, what do we say, number 7. Number 6 and up, this is where, there's a lot of great albums. The next one, it pains me a little bit to put it this low, but like I think I said earlier in the video, for 80s Mötley Crüe, there's so much nostalgia for me, and that time in my life, things like that. But anyways, let's hold up number 6, their 6th overall studio album from 1994, and an excellent album. I can't stress enough, if you've dismissed this because it has John Corabi on vocals, go revisit it. It is probably, in a way, some of the heaviest stuff Mötley Crüe has ever done. So tracks like Power to the Music, Smoke the Sky, Hammered. There is tracks like Hooligan's Holiday, Love Shine, Poison Apples, that have those kind of 80s Mötley Crüe elements. You can hear them in there. But this is a really, for lack of a better term, a really grown-up album. Musically phenomenal. Production is excellent. And John Corabi is one hell of a singer. I would have loved to see a second album with him on it. I do have the other but there was 2 different covers, one with yellow, one with red. And if you've never heard this album, go out and give it a try. Just because it's coming in at number 6 does not mean it's a bad album. It's actually an excellent album. Coming in at number 5. So, got to see them on this tour in 1987, so might give that away right away. But I bookmarked, I have this book, The Heroin Diaries, and I bookmarked the date because got to see them on October 18th, 1987. Whitesnake opened. Oh, look at that, $21. Good luck. You couldn't even get a beer and popcorn for $21 at a show these days. But yeah, the date is the 18th. They played. We took my dad's 1978 Chevy van on an 8 or 9 hour journey to the next province over, and a few of my friends and I. So that was the first show that we kind of went on our own, and I guess we were whatever age we were, but I bookmarked that they played here. And then on the 16th, which is 2 days prior to the show we saw, they played in Vancouver, in British Columbia, the province, and then they had a day off in between. And the stuff I read, and that day off, they pretty much take advantage of their days off, and with drinking and injecting Jack Daniels directly into the bloodstream, things like that. So years later, I'm thinking, how did we even see a show that night? Because it was fantastic. They fooled me, but I don't even know how they were able to function, to be honest with you. But that's just the way it was back then. So big segue into my number 5, which is Girls, Girls, Girls. And this is part of that set. So we're going to show you that cassette. And this one is on a blue cassette. For me, this album, I'm going to say it's a little overrated, but why I say that is because only to me the first half is a really strong, or stronger than the second half of this album. This album does contain my single favorite Mötley Crüe song, which is Wild Side. I love the guitar riff that's throughout that song. Fantastic solo. The lyrics, they're genius. I love them. A day's pay on the Wild Side. I mean, just phenomenal. What else do I love about this album? You know the song Girls, Girls, Girls. We've heard that one enough. Dancing on Glass is a great song. But one of my deep favorite tracks is Bad Boy Boogie. I love the guitar riff on that too. So coming in at number 5 is Girls, Girls, Girls from 19, what did we say? 19, now I forget. Drawing a blank here. 1987, of course. And yeah, Whitesnake opened that day too. And you know what happened with Whitesnake's 1987 album, you know, in that period and shortly after. I mean, just skyrocketed. Okay, next up, which is the second time I got to see Mötley Crüe in their heyday, which was June 13th, 1990 on the Dr. Feelgood tour, leading up to my number 4, which is Dr. Feelgood. Very solid album, great production. Love the drum sound on this, produced by Bob Rock. And that is one of those nice cassettes from this set, and matching kind of green on there. But yeah, you all know this album. To me, it might be guilty a bit of half strong, half not really weak, but a couple filler tracks in here. Everyone knows Dr. Feelgood, that song. Rattlesnake Shake. I actually was thinking about that. Skid Row's, not version, they have their own song called Rattlesnake Shake, but I always liked Skid Row's Rattlesnake Shake better than Mötley Crüe's Rattlesnake Shake. You know the song Kickstart My Heart, Same Old Situation. Couple cringy songs on here like She Goes Down, Sticky Sweet. Don't Go Away Mad, Just Go Away. I actually really love that song. I think it's a really solid track. But coming in at number 4 from 1989, Dr. Feelgood. So yeah, and you know that the 1994 album, so that's 5-year gap. So there was a big gap in between Vince leaving and John coming in the band. But coming in at number 3, and you know, people will say on their videos that this is the part where I'm going to catch some shit for the. I don't care about that. This one has so much meaning and nostalgia to me. This is the first Mötley Crüe album I ever bought brand new on release day after discovering them in 1983, and I was waiting for this like yeah, I think it was the Metal Edge magazine that I would always read and say, oh, this is getting released whenever. But anyways, here is my number 3, Mötley Crüe's Theater of Pain. This album does get shit on. Yeah, maybe definitely lacking a little bit in the production. But I'll tell you, one of the highlights of this album for me is Mick Mars. He shines on this album. The guitar tone on here is phenomenal. Actually, if you look at or listen to the track Raise Your Hands to Rock, which isn't the best track on here, but in the mid part, the guitar riff in there and the solo in there, phenomenal. You know, as odd choice of an opening track as City Boy Blues is, it is really a great track. Some of my favorites, probably my 3 favorite ones, of course, Smoking in the Boys' Room. I could do without that one. Home Sweet Home, it is what it is. It was a big hit for these guys. But Louder Than Hell, love the guitar tone on that. Same with Save Our Souls, kind of the same. Those 2 songs go hand in hand for me. And Keep Your Eye on the Money. Tonight We Need a Lover. This to me is an underrated album and very solid, and probably doesn't deserve the shit that it gets half the time. And for me again, just that time in my life and the memories I have buying this and listening, you know, just playing it to death. So number 3, Theater of Pain, which brings us to the last 2. And before I forget, because I don't want to forget this, the last time I got to see Mötley Crüe was 2019 in my fairly small city here of about 10,000 people. They did play here. And I'm going to leave a link to this video because if you've ever seen this, I was at this show where some drunk asshole ran up on stage and knocked Mick Mars over. And if you look closely, Nikki Sixx walks up and just boots him right in the ribs. And he deserved that for sure. It was actually embarrassing for our city that happened. So I'll leave a link to that. I was at that show. And yeah, like I said, just embarrassing for this Drunk, like I said, drunk asshole. Anyways, let's get into the last two, and probably a lot of people's, favorite two Mötley Crüe albums, and or maybe not, whatever. And remind you, let me know in the comments your favorite Mötley Crüe albums. Love to hear from you guys, and always appreciate it. But coming in at number 2, their debut album from 1981, Too Fast for Love. And you can guess this cassette, what color it will be. Just like a leather jacket, black cassette, very cool. Whoops, upside down. The one thing I was thinking about this when I was listening to this, again, and this is an album that I'll play, a few times a year because I actually just really love this album. Obviously, coming in at number 2, but the one highlight on this album for me is when Mick Mars' guitar, his guitar tone's awesome, love it. Very raw sounding album, great lyrics by Nikki Sixx. But when the solos come in, there's no rhythm guitar behind it. There's just bass and drums. I just love that sound. I think it's very fitting for this album. And, maybe you feel the same too. But, yeah, great album. Fantastic album, really. Mötley Crüe's debut album. 1981's Too Fast for Love. That only leaves one. And my number 1 Mötley Crüe album is Shout at the Devil from 1983, the one I discovered them on. And you can guess this cassette, probably nice red. But yeah, I'll never forget hearing that the opening riff of Shout at the Devil. I was just like, wow, that is just awesome. This whole album, basically, even the cover of Helter Skelter is not bad. But Shout at the Devil, of course, love that song. Kind of the hits, Looks That Kill, Too Young to Fall in Love. Those were big, great videos on Much Music or MTV. But some of my favorites, the deeper tracks, Bastard, love that song. But my 2 favorite tracks on this album, besides Shout at the Devil, is Red Hot and 10 Seconds to Love. Just love both of those songs. And this is an album that I could pop on anytime and not get tired of it whatsoever. But there is my ranking of all 9 studio albums from Mötley Crüe. Is there ever going to be another Mötley Crüe album? Never say never. Hopefully they get their shit together and get, Vince tuned up and ready to hit the road on this stadium tour. I have already got to see Mötley Crüe 4 times. I'm more than happy with that. These stadium tours, number 1, super expensive. Number 2, you're probably going to be sitting in a seat staring at a screen anyways. And in some cases, if I went, I'd just be going because I said I went to it. I don't know, but highly unlikely that I would go to that. But don't let that stop you. But yeah, anyways, hope you enjoyed my ranking of these albums. And until next time, stay heavy.